My name is Henry. I am 25 years old and I live with my girlfriend Kate. I have always been an adventurous kind of guy. I love outdoor activities and I love late nights outside. So Friday finally rolled around again, and after a stressful week at work I was chilling out with my girlfriend Kate and I really wanted to do something. On work nights I didn't do anything because I like to go to bed early so I feel refreshed at work. So I asked Kate if she wanted to go camping. She told me she wasn't really feeling it tonight but I should go and invite some friends along to go with me. But after a long week at work I didn't really want to go out in the world and see people, so I decided I would just set my tent up in my back garden. So while most people my age was getting ready to go out on the town, I went outside to set up my tent whilst it was still light outside. I then grabbed my two-man tent from the garden shed and began to put it up. It took me about 10 minutes to assemble it all together, and it wasn't long before I had gotten all my stuff and placed them inside of my tent. There was a bunch of snacks I accumulated together consisting of a case of Red Bulls to just keep me going for the night, a bag of salted chocolate pretzels and a bag of sour Rainbow Belts. I brought my duvet and my pillows outside along with my laptop that I would use to watch a movie on, and not forgetting my phone and my flashlight. With everything already inside the tent I could then go inside my house to spend some time with my girlfriend. We spent some time together and talked for a few hours, and before you knew it my girlfriend was ready to go to bed. I asked her for the last time if she would reconsider camping out with me, but she was determined. She wanted to stick with her decision of going to bed. So after kissing Kate goodnight I asked my girlfriend if she could lock the back door behind me. Now outside it was dark and I thought to myself, I'm so glad I got everything ready whilst it was still light. So I made my way to the tent and opened it up, climbed inside and zipped up the tent. The first thing I did was move things where I wanted them. I know I already did that, but I have always had a bad case of OCD. I didn't waste much time turning my laptop on and picking a movie to watch. I ended up picking the worst sort of movie to watch by myself. I wasn't one for horror movies, so I guess I didn't think it through when I put on the movie called The Visit. To give a quick description of what it was about. The mother had to go away with something to do with work, so her two children, one boy and one girl, had to go and stay with their grandparents. From the get-go the grandparents acted very weird and creepy until the two children have a Skype call with their mother. They then showed their mother their grandparents' faces on the laptop camera through the window. After the children's mother sees the grandparents' faces on the camera, she told her children that they was not their grandparents, and the story goes on. It was definitely a scary concept, and after finishing the whole movie I decided I had enough of watching movies and it was getting a bit too late, so I put YouTube on my laptop and began browsing random videos. It wasn't long before my curiosity took over me and I was listening to horror stories again. So eating my sweet chocolate and necking most of my Red Bulls, I glanced down at the bottom corner of my laptop only to find out it was already past 1 in the morning. I was really shocked to find out the time, but like they say, time flies when you're having fun. I then started to need the toilet, and not wanting to wake my girlfriend up I would just do what most people did when they were camping out: urinate outside the tent. So unzipping the tent I climbed over all of my stuff, grabbed my flashlight and got out the tent. Once outside I looked about whilst in the middle of urinating when I began hearing noises that seemed to be coming from the back of the garden. I had an old shed that I rarely used other than to keep some tools in it and a couple of tins of paint. I shined my flashlight on the shed to see if I could hear what the noise might have been. I could see the plastic window on the shed and the broken door slightly off its hinges. From what I could see there didn't seem to be any movement of any sort, so I just put it down to a neighbor's cat or something. But after already watching a lot of scary content I quickly hurried up, finishing going to the toilet, and rushed to go back inside the tent. Since a little kid I have only ever been able to fall asleep if I was watching something, so I decided to put on a bit of comedy on to lighten the mood after watching so much scary stuff. So I put on the movie Friday and began watching it. And slowly but surely, bit by bit, I fell asleep. It wasn't long before I fell fast asleep. I don't know how long I was asleep for, but I was woken up by the sound of gunfire and Smokey and Craig getting shot at. Now fully awake again, I unzipped the tent a little and poked my head out of the hole of the tent but couldn't see a thing, so I went back inside and tried to fall asleep, for the second time. I think by now the caffeine was beginning to kick in from all of the Red Bulls I had drank. So I thought I would just browse the internet for a bit. Then I heard what sounded like loud footsteps outside of the tent. I'm not going to lie, at first it really scared me, but after convincing myself it was my imagination I just put it down to the nocturnal animals going about their business. I knew I could not fall back to sleep because of how awake I felt. Let's just say the Red Bulls were a bad idea. All of a sudden something or someone banged against my tent really loud and it felt like my heart just about stopped. I began breathing really heavy and my heart was pumping really fast. I really didn't know what to do. Trying to pretend I was asleep, I turned my laptop off and tried to be as quiet as I could. I then heard knocking that seemed to come from the shed at the back of the garden. I had remembered I had brought my phone outside but didn't use it because I was on my laptop all night. So I quickly opened the app called WhatsApp, and for those of you who are not up to scratch with technology, WhatsApp was a bit like Skype. It allowed you to texting or even video call people, like what happened in the movie The Visit I had watched earlier. So after bringing up WhatsApp, I immediately sent a message to my girlfriend and asked her if she had been outside and banged on the tent. I heard my neighbor's dogs bark from the back of my garden and their owner Lauren come out of her bedroom window to tell them to shut up. Thinking to myself something must have set them off, I slowly made my way out of the tent, shining my flashlight everywhere. I could not see anyone. I didn't know if Kate remembered to lock the door behind me, so I made the decision to run to my back door and see if it was open. It wasn't. Now looking from the back door I could see the open tent and parts of the shed at the back, and without wasting any time I ran as fast as I could to the tent. Once inside I took another look around the garden and zipped the tent up. There seemed to be a light flashing, lighting up the tent. When I looked down I noticed I had a notification on my phone. It was a message from my girlfriend. I quickly opened the message. It read, "Sorry I didn't read your message sooner babe, I fell asleep. Yes, I locked the back door, I even double-checked it. Did you take my advice?" Then about inviting a friend, because when I went to the bathroom earlier I looked out the window and I saw someone else in the back garden. "See you in the morning, love, Kate." I was in shock. I knew I couldn't go to sleep now. The door was locked. What do I do? So I immediately sent a text back to Kate. "Babe, are you up? If you are, I would like to come inside please." I sat and watching my phone, praying she would see my message. My neighbor's dogs started to bark again, and what happened next managed to scare a 25-year-old man as if I was a small child again. There was a loud knock on the shed. It definitely wasn't animals, and that moment I knew I had to get away from this tent. So ever so gently I unzipped the tent and slowly climbed out, leaving everything in my tent apart from the flashlight. We had a high fence near the back door separating the front garden. I knew if I could make it over that I would feel safe. So flashlight in hand, never looking back, once I made a run for the back fence. I climbed it so fast I cut myself on a nail that was sticking out, but I had so much adrenaline running around in me it didn't even affect me. I was just so relieved to be standing in my front garden where there are street lights and sometimes people walking past. After I made it to the front I didn't mind taking a look in the back garden, so I lifted myself up, now sort of sitting at the top of the fence. I shined my flashlights around the whole garden for about 10 minutes, never taking my eyes away from where the lights was shining. There was nothing strange or no one about. Of course that wasn't enough for me to go back to the tent. So I took a long walk somewhere until it was finally light outside and I could get in my house. So I went home and knocked on the front door. To my surprise, my girlfriend Kate was already awake, ready to let me in. She must have woke up early because she had an early night. "I read your text. What was up with you last night?" I then explained everything, how there was knocking on the shed and how someone was banging on the tent and that I was hearing weird noises like footsteps walking about. "Oh, that's weird," she replies. "Oh yeah, I almost forgot babe, last I never had anyone else here." "No babe, why are you lying? I saw him, it looked like he was talking to you. I think you was sat in the tent and he was next to you." "Behave babe, stop playing." "Henry, I'm not joking, I saw him next to the tent." I was freaked out. "Okay babe, I'm going to go and bring in my belongings from the tent." So I began bringing in my stuff. I think I grabbed my laptop and phone first. Then I fetched all my rubbish out and put it in the bin, and finally I grabbed my pillows and duvet. Wait, what's this? There was a piece of paper and an envelope. I decided to look at the paper first. There was writing on it. Talking to myself, I don't remember bringing this in. Thinking it might have just been wrapped in my duvet cover or something, I read it. It read, "I will get you next time." I was so shocked and at the same time relieved I didn't stay in the tent. Oh yeah, the envelope. I quickly opened it up, and what I saw next was enough to scare anybody. Inside was a picture of me from one of the times I had gotten out of the tent. It was dark, but you could clearly see me in the picture along with the outline of the tent. I froze in terror. I didn't know what to think. All I know is ever since that day I vowed to never camp alone in my back garden again.